I think I'll go ahead and get started.
Soren, microphone.
I'm not going to use the microphone because I'm going to be using my hands a lot. We're going to actually be building. I've turned it on. I'm pointing it in the general direction. The video will have to suffer. I can speak loud enough, as you can hear, and I need my hands for this, so the video will suffer. I'm just going to shut the door. And then we can get started. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to build a component right now with you guys using input that you give me in 30 minutes. At the same time, I want to talk a little bit about me and my company and Component Creator, and hopefully answer questions and stuff like that. So this is kind of like a test, and I'm sure it'll fail miserably, but we'll have fun doing it. So that's the idea of it, and hopefully it's going to be fast-paced and lots of fun. If I speak too fast, let me know. I have a tendency to do. Good. Right, let's get started. I'll keep standing for this. My name is Soren Beck Jensen. If you've been to the previous session, I'm going to be repeating a little bit of stuff I started off in here this morning as the first session. I am the CEO of Jensen Technologies. You can follow me on Twitter at Soren Beck, and feel free to tweet during the sessions and give me a little shout out. You can reach me on this very long email address. I'll post the slides probably tomorrow on SlideShare, so if you want any of this information in the slides, you can see it later. I'm a developer, personally, but I'm also into design, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a manager of my company. I'm a Joomla enthusiast. I love speaking about Joomla and writing, and I volunteer in the Joomla. I'm in the marketing team. I'm in the resource directory. I'm currently redesigning the homepage of Joomla.org as one of my, I'm in charge of that team. I'm a mentor at the Google Summer of Code program. Whoops, that's the wrong way. And I'm the J Factor winner. And you probably don't know what that is, but...
That's weird. Halle Joomla.
Halle Joomla, yes. So that's a new thing I've added to my CV here. Anyway, it was a talent competition at an annual Joomla event that was held in Prague this year, and we always have fun one of the evenings, and there's a talent competition, and I won it. So about my company, Jensen Technologies, we started in 2005. We only do Joomla development, except for a little Magento website once in a while. I have 7 employees, and we're based in Granada, Spain. Now, I myself, I'm Danish, but I live in Spain, and have been for the past 10 years. Jensen Technologies consists of 4 kind of business units. There is not web design, which is the kind of client-facing part where we do websites for clients. Then there's automaticbacklinks.com. You can look that up if you like. It's a search engine optimization service. And then we have Component Creator, which I'll be talking about, and Nano Translate, which is a Joomla translation extension that we have just launched. Component Creator allows you to build components for Joomla, actually Joomla 1.6 and up, but nobody uses that anymore, so we say Joomla 2.5 and 3x. We follow, when you build components using Component Creator, we follow the model view controller code structure 100%, and you can create a complete CRUD. A CRUD is a create, read, update, and delete interface for both the admin and front end of Joomla using Component Creator. Again, if I'm too fast, let me know, but we have to rush a little bit. We have been doing this since 2009. It's free with a premium option, and we have almost 50,000 developers using Component Creator, and we have almost created 100,000 components. We actually just yesterday we wrote a blog post about this because we're going to have some big celebrations and giveaways and free premium subscriptions and stuff like that when we reach those numbers. So we're pretty proud of those numbers, and we believe we have saved more than 20 years of development time of developing Joomla components. And we're very used by agencies, Joomla development agencies that make websites for customers, because typically you have, oh, we want a car rental component, and then it's very easy for those agencies to use Component Creator to quickly write the code for a custom component, as you will see. But let's build a component. You decide, what should we build? Any ideas? Come on, this is an interactive session.
Let's a big gallery.
Let's a gallery.
Yeah,
A gallery is a little. It has to be something where we take some content in the admin, we put it into, and then maybe we can display it on the front end.
Library.
A library.
Book library.
Book library. Good idea.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right. Let's see. We are going to go to Component Creator. So I've just logged in here. One neat little feature I could just show you is I could change this to Polish if I can find it. There, Polski. And we can, now I'm not going to do everything in Polish just to see you that you can have the interface in Polish, but I don't remember it well enough to do so, so I'll switch back to English. Or I can do Danish if you prefer. Right, so let's get started, let's build a component. So com what? Com library? Okay, so it has to have a display name, so we'll just call it library. We can give it a description, I'll just skip that. We can pick a little icon. Now this is very small on this machine, but let's see. It's not that important. We will use that one as our icon. We'll build version 1.0, right? Can everybody see? Is it too small? I can try and zoom a little bit. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, that's all.
Ale to jest kwestia rzutnika.
There we go. Everybody see that? All right, so we'll make a version 1.0, but really the fields I'm filling out now are just mainly for the what's it called? We put a comment header in each file, as you'll see in Joomla if you looked into that. We'll build a 3.0 component. We can add English and Polish, right? To our component, we have standard copyright. I'll say it's me who's doing it, and I'm going to create my component. So now I've created a component, but it doesn't have any tables yet. So we want to create some database tables for our component. What I could do here is I could import SQL. So if I had already created like the SQL schema for my component, I could import that. Or even if I had like an old 1.5 component or something that was created in a totally different system, I could import the SQL structure and use that as the building block of my component. But we're going to manually add a table. Library, what?
Books. Users.
Books. Okay, yeah, users, that's a good idea, yes. Storage engine, we'll make it my ISAM, or we can make it InnoDB. We can leave it server default. Right, so display name, I have two displays for my books. I have a list view and I have an item view, and that's pretty much for everything you create. The same goes with Zeblot and any other system like that. It's you have a list and a form basically. So I can change the icon for this, but I'll skip over that for now. So it automatically assumes that I want to call it books and book, which is correct in this case. You can then decide, do I want a front-end view for this? Because imagine you might want to have only in the admin a view to administrate, let's say, penalties for late deliveries when you bring back your book too late, right? So that might only be an admin. But we want this in the front end. We want to show which books we have for rent in the front end, right? Or for what's it called? Borrowing. And we want to link to a detail page of the item. So we want a list view and an item view. But we're not going to allow editing of books from the front end. We only want the librarians to do that from the admin. And we can add ACL control, but it gets a little bit too complicated to do that for this very short demo. So I have now created a table called books, library books, and Component Creator has automatically added some typical fields. You're totally free to delete those, except for ID, that's kind of required, but we've added ordering, state, checked out time, and created by. Those are fields that are typically used in Joomla components and databases to handle, for instance, the checked out fields are used to handle several people editing the same item at the same time, so it prevents people overwriting each other's work. So we're going to leave those in, but we're going to add some fields. Down at the bottom here, I say add field. So field name would be name. We want a name of our book, right?
Title is important.
Title, yes, good idea. Oops, title. That should probably be, so here we can pick from, I'll dwell at this a little bit to show, but these are the typical standard Joomla fields that you can create using XML if you're a normal developer. Text field, text area, checkbox, checkboxes, a list, lots of different fields that you, if you're a developer, you should be relatively familiar with, but it's really grown a lot lately. We've just added another 8 fields, I think, that Joomla has added. But you can add any of these fields into Component Creator. So we're gonna select a text field because we just want people to type in the name. Oh, one thing I maybe should show is that besides the Joomla standard fields, we also have some special fields. Foreign key fields, so that's when we'll do this in a little bit. We'll create another table, and then we'll link those 2 tables together. It could be like a category, or a genre. It could, for our books thing, we want to have genre horror, educational, and then we can create content in one table and link it to the other. I'll show you. So a foreign key created by, modified by, time created, a toggle button, and an alias field. And then besides those, we can even just create raw MySQL fields. But that gets a little bit technical, and I'm not going to go into that so much. So we will create a text field. Am I going too fast?
No.
Good. Text field. We will leave kind of the standard things. You can set a lot of settings for each of these fields to get exactly what you want, but length value, we'll leave all that. Description, we could just say enter the name of the book, or the title of the book. You can make this a read-only, a disabled, you can give it classes, and you can set filters and all sorts of stuff like that. So on the form view, it says what should be the label for this field. Now, because I entered name first, it had assumed that I want name, but let's change it to title. And I would say that this field should be required. A book should have a title, at least. And I want to show this field on my list view in the component we're building. And again, it thinks that I want to call it name, but I want to call it title. And also, I want to be able, in my list, component list, I want to be able to search for title, so I'm including that in the search. Any questions?
No.
Great. Let's add another field to our book. So what could be another field?
ISBN.
ISBN number, okay. ISBN. Now here we could do also a text field, but we could probably see if we could find some sort of filter. Is an ISBN? No, it's like it's both letters and numbers.
It's only numbers.
It's only numbers.
And it has check number on the end, so you can check it if it's correct.
So it's like a credit card number,
Yeah,
has self-check.
yes.
Anyway, I think we should probably make it an alphanumeric and not an integer, because it could potentially start with 0.
No.
No?
Oh,
Oh, you know.
no.
Are you a librarian?
No, but I write something like this, but not.
So you
C-sharp.
could it, well, let's make it an integer, right? In that, there might actually be a Joomla field called an integer field or number field or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes.
Number element number field, yeah. Well, we can try and leave it there. And then it asks again here, do you want to show it on the form? Yes, I want people to actually be able to. And should it be required? Yes, we only want books that we have ISBN numbers for. But I don't actually in the admin want to show it in my list view, because you can quickly make a very long list. So I'll leave it out here. Let's add this field. Any other field you can think of?
Author.
Author. Well, see, author is good because we want to create another table with authors that we can then, when we add a book, select from the authors table, right? Let's try that. So I'm going to go back to my com library component and I am going to create another table. So I'm going to make a library authors. I'll leave everything the way they are. There's going to be a list authors and there's going to be a form author. And I also want people in the front end to be able to access this data, and I want to link to a details page, and I don't want to allow front end editing, although let's just do it just for the demo, but normally you wouldn't, right? But because we want to see front end editing, I'm going to say yes. And create a table. Okay, so now I have created my authors table, and I'm going to create my first field in the authors table. Here we would probably have name, yes? And we would probably make it a text field. And here's all these typical fields I showed you before. We definitely want that to be required, that the author should have a name. And we want, in our list view of authors, we want to show the name. And we want to be able to search for them. That was the name field. Let's try and add a biography. Yeah. Biography fields, and that could be no. Let's do an editor, WYSIWYG editor, right? You can set stuff width and height and which buttons and all sorts of things, but I'll leave it at the default. No, well, let's not make this required. You don't have to fill out a biography for an author. And I don't want to show it on my list view either. Now, let's try and link these two tables together so that when you add a book, you can select an author, right? So go back to my library. You can see now I have two tables. I have books and authors. If I go back into books, I want to add another field here. And let's say the field name should be author ID, right? Well, actually it should just be author, like that. And then in here, I want a special field. I want a foreign key, and it will then load which table. So I could now link something to the core table. For instance, I could make it the user or a content item or something like that. But I want to link it to my authors table. And inside there, the key ID should be ID, and the value should be my name, right? So when you select an author, it'll store the key, the integer, and it'll select, show the name. And that's about it. Any questions? We could say the field should be required. We want to show it on our list. So on our list of books, we want to show the name of the author. So that gets a little bit tricky.
It will build a relation, yes?
Yes.
With this table.
Yes.
It's normally MySQL relation, nothing else more.
No, it's really a Joomla relation, or if you want it, all the code is you create a join statement in the select when you do it. Include field and text-based searches. Add a filter for this list in the list view. So that's another new thing that we have shown. Like, what are we doing for time? 53, so we started at 35. We've gone 20 minutes, something like that, right? Right, what should we do? Should we build a little bit more, or should we click the magic button and actually generate the component and install it? Any other fields you'd like to test?
Yeah, maybe in table authors we can create the books which he write.
Come again?
In table authors, I create the field of books which he write. The books.
So the other,
Both such relations.
yeah, we don't have that. There's not many-to-many relationship. We don't have. So you'd have to write that yourself as a developer.
Well,
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's just a feature, isn't it?
Oh, a fill. Yeah, but we would need to create.
Only by ID also.
No, but that is already created. On our books list, you can filter by author, and you can say, show me books by this author.
Yeah, but when I see the authors table, I can see which books is
In here,
that they are.
it should be many to many.
Yes,
ways,
yes.
I guess. I
Yes.
will do that. I will do.
Yeah, it is many to many, and we don't do that. We don't do that. You'd have to write the code yourself for that, because that gets extremely complicated. But any other kind of field or anything like that, we could add some Joomla. Yeah, let's just quickly in our books here. Let's add a Joomla categories field. So let's call it topic,
So
right?
you could actually do like comments or rating on a book in a different field.
Exactly. Yes. So I'm going to make a topic. I'm just going to add a Joomla category. So that would be the topic. We could show that on the list view. Let's just try and add that. I want to add another field. How about, let's say we want to tag our books, right? So tags, and there should be a tag field. Tag mode should be Ajax. Custom tags allow multiple true, and that's about it. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to click the big green button and see what happens. I'm going to build my component. It downloads it. COM library version 1.00 has been created, and you can see all the files that we have added here that goes into creating a Joomla component. And this is where the time really is saved, right? Because you don't have to write all these files yourself and extend them and rename them and do all of this work. So now let's try and go to this handy little website that I prepared earlier. This is just a standard Joomla site, and see if we can install our extension. It's just the latest version of Joomla, and yeah. Let's see. Any idea? Oh, this is the desktop. I want to go to downloads. Modify. There is our COM library. Let's open that and try and install. Fingers crossed. Yes, it's installed correctly. So now, I must say, it's usually when I get an applause. No, just kidding. We have now our component, books that we've just created over in Component Creator. We've installed it. You can see here, we have nothing in it, but we have books, we have categories, which is, actually if you look up here in the address, you can see it's COM categories. It's not part of our component because we're using the Joomla field, the built-in Joomla method for categories, and we have authors. So let's start by adding an author, because we can't add a book without having an author, if you remember. So any name for an author? Stephen King, anything like that?
Yeah, Stephen King is fine.
Stephen, is it like that? King?
It probably should be two fields.
Yeah, it should be first name, last name, yes,
Stephen King,
totally, yes. And so we have a description of him here. He writes a lot of books. And we can add another author.
Tolkien.
Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien, is that correct?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that stands for, but we have two of my favorite authors so far. We can just add another favorite author. Ken Follett, if you don't know him, look him up. Okay, so now we have three authors. This is very basic data. Obviously we would have added more interesting information, but let's go over to our books thing. Let's create a new book. The title of our book should be my favorite Stephen King book, which is Carrie. Oh, that's not how it's spelled. Carrie, like that, right? I think. The ISBN number, I'm afraid I don't know, but we'll add something here. Now, author ID. who is our author? So now you can see here the authors we've just created, we can now select from over here. And I will say that's J.R.R. Tolkien. Topic, we haven't created any topics. Thankfully, I don't think I made that a required field. No, it's not required. But we can add some tags. So I guess these tags are standard in Joomla, red, yellow, green, lime, but we can tag it, or we can say horror, classic. So this is all Joomla, standard Joomla stuff. Let's just try and save and close this, because we could just go over in our categories, create a new category, and call it, any idea? Horror. Although that's kind of what we use the tags for. So now in my books I should be able to change this. It's already set to horror. I hope this makes kind of sense. I want to just, any questions to this?
No, it's
No.
fine.
Let's try and, yeah, the menu here is a little bit crazy because I've also installed Nano Translate, which I gave a version talk of earlier, and so it's created all these different language versions of the menu. So I will need to go to main menu and add new menu item. And we should be able to find our library component here. And I want to link to a books view, a list of the books. And let's see, I guess that's about it. Let's call it books, save and close, and then I should be able to see that in the front end. Anybody see books anywhere? There, main menu there, books, and we don't have any books. Could that be because...
We
We just did authors.
Huh?
We didn't do any books, we just did authors.
No, we did one book, didn't we? Carrie, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see,
maybe you
components.
need to public it.
It is published, but it could be that we need to log into the front end.
Maybe the language, no, it was not.
It could be language, yeah, if I'm not in English. Yes, there we go. So there's our book carry, and if I'm logged in as an admin, I would now have administrative rights to edit this as well. If we had set that up in our component, I can't remember if we did. I don't think we did. Any questions? Now I can go back and I can change, I can add things to my component, I can just install it on top, and those features are added. Pretty neat, eh?
Yeah, when will we update to many relations?
It's an extremely complicated thing. We've just done a huge survey of our user base. We have 50,000 users, and they have helped us rank what we should be working on, and that was not among the top lists, because typically if you're doing something like that, you're doing it because you have something complex and you need to really hand code that anyway.
But can you make something else than, because we only create SQL database, nothing else today. Okay. But can you make some tools?
You're thinking like a slideshow or
Yes,
something like that?
Yes.
No. This is basically a developer's tool that helps you write the code that is very boring. So it takes out all the boring work. If you're a developer and have ever made a Joomla component before, what we have just done now in less than 30 minutes would have taken you, if you're a good developer, a couple of hours to do. If you're a new developer, it would take you probably 10 hours to do. And you have to do that every time you build a new component. So it takes all that out of it. It creates all the files, it extends. We can have a look at the code, by the way, we probably should. Let's see, the easiest way is probably to go in here. Sorry, this is terrible. Components. Maybe, where's com library? Anybody see that? Com finder, comes there, com library. We can open a model. Sorry, I'm not really used to working on this Mac, so I don't even know what it's going to open up into. But here's our form model. Oh dear. I'm not sure it should open up in Xcode. Let's see what... installing components, I don't think so. Open with... Didn't really open in NetBeans, did it?
Can I ask a question?
Definitely.
If you have like a CSV file and you want to import that CSV file now to the libraries with books. So I
Yes,
have
yes.
an Excel file and I can
Yep.
make that into a CSV file. And
Uh-huh.
now I just want to have an upload import
Mhm.
function. Could that be created in this?
Let me answer you the way that will make you understand better exactly the limitations of Component Creator. Can Joomla do that? Because if Joomla can do it, we can do it.
Okay.
Basically, what we do is we take features that Joomla can do and that you would normally have to hand code and we generate that code for you. So if Joomla can't do it, which it can't, then Component Creator can't either.
So you can do
it's
everything
kind of the
else.
same question you're asking. We haven't added, there have been lots of pressure on us from adding that kind of stuff, but the problem is we feel that if that's a thing that people would need, like a slideshow or an importer or whatever, it should be part of the Joomla core. And as soon as it's part of the Joomla core, we support it as well. So it's not meant to create 100% finished components, although sometimes you can. If it has a basic, just a database management, then it can. It's meant to generate all the boring code that we as developers keep doing again and again and again every time we write a new component.
So for example, this could make it like 80% ready and it says it's 20% that when you do the import guide or something.
Depending on your component, yes, I would say between 80 and 95%.
Okay.
Component Creator have two versions, free or...
Yes, there is a free version that can only supports one table. So you get all the functionality and you can create a one table component. But if you want to make multiple tables, you could then go and create another component at another table and import it on top, and then you will have two tables. But if it'll be a little bit more complicated for you to do that. But you could use the free version like that. But if you want to have two tables and you want to link them together like we did, then you have to go on our premium plan, which is let's see if I can find over here, which is 29 euros for a month, or 275 for a whole year, and there's various discounts that we offer, and that reminds me there's a 50% discount for anybody in this room, so it's a good question.
What's the coupon code?
If I can find out where my slides are, here we go. So a 50% discount on premium if you use JDay Poland as at the checkout, and that is valid for the next 30 days for any attendees. Any questions?
Did you use Component Creator to create Nuno?
The basic shell of no, not Nano itself, because we don't really have them. Yeah, actually we did some of it, yes. But the website that we developed for Nano Translate, we definitely built using that, yes. But also the basic foundation, we do that for every project. We write the basic foundation using Component Creator, yes. It just saves a lot of hours of work. And we have many very, very happy users. We used to be on the top rated in the extension directory while we were still allowed, but because we're not a component, we're no longer allowed to be in the extension directory. But we were a top rated extension. And we have many users who have been using us for many years and who are very happy, and who are saving thousands and thousands of whatever currency they are working. Anybody in here use it? already? None? Okay. That's surprisingly. Usually there's a handful of people. Well, that's good. I'm not preaching to the choir.
One question, please. So, do you have any plans to improve your component, or everything almost is done?
For component creator, that's a good question, because we just, I think, well, this week launched a new blog post about that. So let's go have a look at that. So you can see we're about to near these 50,000 users and 100 components. Development roadmap. So we asked our users, what is it you want? And they told us what we should be working on, and that is what we are working on. So as it says here, we've started to add 14 new fields, modified by checkboxes, header check. So we're constantly asking our users what they want, and generally implement what they want, except if what they want is outside of this kind of standard Joomla scope. Then we really think about it, because we don't want to go ahead of what Joomla does. In that case, we'd rather contribute the code to Joomla, so that Joomla has import of CSV files, for instance. So you can read more about that there. And let me just say, I have to log out to see this. But when I say that we are getting close to 50,000 users, I'm not lying. That's the number of users we have right now, and that is the number of components that those users have built. And this is alive, it's updated by the minute, and user number 50,000 gets a year of free premium. So that's worth, as you saw, 178, whatever. So get started registering some account if you want to hit the magic number. No, I'm not advocating that. I guess that was it, unless there's any more questions. Thanks guys, we build a component.